Hello, my name is Dennis O'Brien. I'm the founder and president of the Space Treaty Project, a scientific and educational nonprofit located in Northern California. Today I'll be talking about how to protect the interests of the private sector under the Outer Space Treaty and any new international agreement that might be produced by the United Nations new Working Group on Outer Space Resources, including the group of experts who are meeting here today. This is a pivotal moment in humanity's departure from our home planet, and we must make the most of it. Let us begin with this premise. Supporting the private sector in outer space is good public policy. We need its resources, talent, diversity, creativity, and enthusiasm for a sustainable human presence in outer space. This is not to say that the public sector does not have those things, but it is not enough. Government budgets alone cannot provide adequate funding. We must expand the free market economy into outer space for a sustainable human presence. And to do that, we must create and protect enough revenue sources to attract operators, investors, and ultimately settlers. So, how do we do that? There are three basic strategies. First, we must clarify the ambiguities in the Outer Space Treaty concerning private utilization of outer space resources. We can do that by engaging with the UN Outer Space Resources Working Group. The working group has a 5-year mandate, which includes possible additional international governance instruments to augment the OST. Second, we must accept the responsibilities of the Outer Space Treaty. Article 6 states that national activities must comply with the OST, including activities by non governmental entities. There are no rights without responsibilities, especially the responsibility of respecting the rights of others. Third, we must act with enlightened self interest. In this setting, that means considering the historical context of humanity's venture into outer space to play the long game that will benefit each of us and all of us as we leave the home planet. So, what are the ambiguities of the Outer Space Treaty that must be addressed? There are three. First, and most important, we must clarify that resources removed from in place can become private property under national laws. The diplomatic phrasing is that such removal is not inherently appropriation, which is prohibited by Article 2 of the OST. The words in place are not found in the OST, though they are found in the Moon Agreement, the treaty that people love to hate, but actually contains some very good language. We must also clarify what it means to remove small asteroids from in place. It probably means removing them from their natural orbit to a place where they can be used economically, though it must be done safely. Remember what happened to the dinosaurs. Secondly, we must clarify that all stations, installations, and facilities are within the jurisdiction and control of the country that authorized and supervises them. This is implied in Article 12 of the Outer Space Treaty and made explicit in Article 12 of the Moon Agreement. By including such language in any new international agreement, we can make sure that the installations and facilities used for outer space resource activity, including any improvements, remain within the control of the private nationals who built them in accordance with their own national laws. The third clarification concerns intellectual property rights. These are not mentioned in either the Outer Space Treaty or the Moon Agreement, but are specifically supported by Section 1.19 of the Long Term Sustainability Guidelines that were unanimously adopted by COPUOS in 2019. Any new agreement must clarify that private intellectual property rights are protected. Clearing up those ambiguities is essential, but it is just as essential that the private sector acknowledges their responsibilities under the Outer Space Treaty. There are 6 of them. The first 2, free access and non-appropriation, mean that there can be no exclusion zones. Access to resources must be shared. The next 3 all come from Article 9. Due regard, which means avoiding harmful interference, avoiding harmful contamination of the celestial environment, and protecting the interests of other countries, both current interests and future interests. Protecting present and future interests may be the key. If you are willing to support a framework that protects the future interests of emerging countries, you are far more likely to get protection for the current interests of whoever gets there first. Finally, we must share information about the nature, conduct, location, and results of the outer space activities. Accepting these responsibilities will help promote the cleaner space resource utilization that is the theme of this conference and will help ensure that the clarifications needed for financial sustainability are adopted by the international community. Such clarifications are part of a framework for the future of humanity in outer space. There are many nonprofit organizations, part of civil society, that are working on such a framework. One of those is the Space Treaty Project, which first proposed a model resource agreement in 2019 that has undergone extensive public comment and peer review. The current version is only 10 paragraphs long and addresses all the issues raised above. A petition supporting the model agreement has gathered over 1,600 signatures. Both the model agreement and the petition are available at spacetreaty.org. The last line of the model agreement says, "Nothing in this agreement shall be interpreted as limiting or diminishing the rights of individuals or settlements under customary international law." This means, among other things, that settlements can eventually become independent sovereign states, which is very important for many space enthusiasts and organizations. One of those organizations is Space Renaissance International, where I am co-chair of the Space Law Committee. SRI has proposed an 18th Sustainable Development Goal to add to the 17 already adopted by the United Nations. The 18th SDG supports civilian activity in outer space as an essential component of sustainability, both in outer space and on Earth itself. SRI is here at this conference with a poster presentation and handouts. Please visit their exhibit and talk with them. You can also visit their website, spacerenaissance.space, for more information and a link to a supporting petition. And now for the historical perspective. Humanity is facing a historical crisis when just a slight shift can cause massive changes that can last for decades, even centuries. The closest parallel occurred 5 centuries ago when the age of exploration became the age of imperialism. Then, as now, countries with advanced technology sought to control the resources of new worlds, creating a legacy of war, suffering, and neglect that is still being felt today. As we start to repeat this pattern, people have begun to lose faith in their governments, their private institutions, even in humanity itself. Every day we wake up to news of worsening climate change, increasing social unrest, and rising international conflict. To this has now been added the threat of war in outer space. The people of Earth are beginning to despair, wondering if there is anything they can believe in. They are beginning to lose hope. Fellow participants and distinguished guests, our duty is to restore that hope, to counter the despair of war and violence and neglect, to give the people of our planet a future they can believe in by helping the nations of Earth to build our common future. I will do all I can to protect peace in outer space, as a way to promote peace on Earth. But the time has come to pass that torch to the next generation. Thank you, and good luck.